Grizz Nation, it's time for another off-season outlook. I'm Michael Wallace, joined by Kelcey Wright Johnson, and today's topic are the Grizzlies' wings as we look back and also look forward into the offseason in terms of what's next for this team on the perimeter. You have to start, if you're talking about the wings, with Dillon Brooks. He's played both small forward and guard, big guard for the Grizzlies, but for the most part, we know that this guy's going to bring it on both ends of the court. Kelcey, what were you most impressed with Dillon's season this far?
I was impressed with Mike from the very beginning. He came into this season, you could tell that he had worked on his body a lot in the summer. He came bigger, he came faster, he came just with more stamina. I'll go offense and defense for you. So on the offensive end, he averaged more points than he has ever averaged in his career. And then if you look at the postseason, he came and he kind of stepped up. So he averaged 17 points in the regular season per game. In the postseason, he averaged 26 points per game, shooting 51% from the field. And he put a lot of emphasis this season on his mid-range game and finishing strong at the basket. I talked to him after the season. He said, looking forward, he wants to be more of a ball handler and playmaker. He wants to get his teammates involved. And then on the defensive end, I think what he does on defense kind of transcends the box score. You know, he averages, I think, 1.5 or 1.2 steals per game, but that doesn't say what he does, what he brings to this team when it comes to tenacity and energy. He's fifth in the league in matchup difficulty. So he always gets kind of like the best scorer on the wing of opponents. So he covers, Stephen Curry, Damian Lillard, LeBron James. And again, I don't think the box score quite says what he's done, but he has able to kind of etch his name in the all-defensive talks moving forward.
Yes, and to pick up where you left off on Dillon, to me, as you look forward in terms of where did he trends forward, I was impressed. I had a one-on-one with Dillon right after the season, and he said, look, physically, we're not in the playoffs anymore, but psychologically, I'm still locked in. I'm going to be watching the rest of these playoffs, jotting down notes on these guys that I'm going to have to guard next season. These are all playoff intensity matchups moving forward. So he's going to be just as locked in right now as he was when he was physically on the court. So you got to be impressed with him. And if you look a little bit further on the wings, Kyle Anderson also had a career year in terms of all-around production. And obviously the bigger question is Justise Winslow, but let's go to Kyle first. In terms of Kyle's production and where he is right now, how would you sort of classify his season?
Again, Kyle had a case, and Zach Kleiman talked about that. He had a case to be the most improved player in the NBA this year. He averaged, I think, 6 points last year, almost more than doubled that this year, averaging 12.5 points per game this year. And his assist percentage among forwards is in the 95th percentile. So on the offense, not only is he scoring, but he's also assisting. He brings such length at 6'9" to that 3-4 position. I like him the most, though, I will say, on the defensive end. And I know I keep bringing up defense, but one thing that I love about Kyle, he's able to defend without fouling, which is so important on a team where you've got two guys who almost lead the league in fouling for the last 2 years. He has very active hands. He's able to kind of poke that ball away. And if he doesn't get the steal, he puts his teammates in positions to get the steal for the team. And if we move forward, what I want to see from Kyle, I want to see a little more consistency, Mike, on the offensive end. If you look at the playoff games just as a small sample size, I think he had 14, 11, 11, 3, and 2. And in one of those games, he only attempted one three-pointer. I want Kyle to, if we can get 10 points out of him a game, that would be spectacular. But the three-point shot is really what's going to kind of open this up. John needs to get to the middle. JV needs to get to the middle. Kyle's got to be one of those guys who takes three-pointers to open it up.
And to spread the floor, exactly. And the one thing about Kyle that we know is that no matter what this team has needed from him, he's adapted year after year. He's changed his game. He's retrofitted his game now for 2 different coaching staffs, for 3 different roster iterations. And this is a guy that's going to continue to evolve as a dynamic, versatile player on both ends of the floor. What I want to see Kyle do more so this coming season is to get back to being sort of a playmaker, as you said. I think he can play all 4 positions, from point guard all the way down to power forward. But I think when he's on the ball and helping Ja, sort of be off the ball a little bit more, I think that activates a lot with everybody on this roster. So Kyle Anderson is a guy that he wants to be here. The Grizzlies want to make it work as he goes into next season being the final year of his contract. And speaking of contract talk, the biggest offseason decision the Grizzlies have to make initially is on Justise Winslow. Team option for $13 million going into next season. We didn't see a lot of Justise, but did we see enough to maybe have some encouragement? Zach Kleiman said he was encouraged by what he's seen in terms of Justise, but there's still more to come.
Yeah, 26 games.
Yes.
And one of those games included, just 3 minutes at the end of one of the playoff games. So I wouldn't even really put 26 games out there for Justise. And I think we saw glimpses. He had 20 points against Houston, 25 points, 26 points against Sacramento. So I think we saw glimpses of what he can bring on the offensive end. What I'm more encouraged about, and it comes back to it again, is Justice's defense. He's a great on-ball defender. I just don't necessarily think we got to see exactly what he can bring, injury prone. And when it comes to defenders who are so energetic and in people's grill the way Justise usually is. The injuries held him back a lot from that. So I think we saw glimpses of what he could bring, but I don't think it's quite a fair evaluation to say this is Justise Winslow and this is how he plays.
When you look at the Grizzlies, the wings are dynamic. They're definitely versatile. So you're seeing a common theme in terms of how the Grizzlies are going to evaluate the wing position moving into the offseason. For Kelcey, Wright, Johnson, I'm Michael Wallace. Keep it locked on our offseason outlook at Grizzlies.com.